Hey there, welcome back to Well Oiled Operations. Today, I am interviewing Faith Schwalbach. She is the founder of Beverly's Angels, which is a nonprofit. Now, I have zero nonprofit experience. I couldn't say like I've had nonprofit clients before, but Faith was somebody who started watching our stuff, eventually joined, and now working with her for a little while, it's so obvious how similar a nonprofit is with a for-profit business. Their donors are just our clients. We're looking for gross revenues and more sales, and they're looking for more donations, right? So there's a lot of similarities, and Faith has so much to share. I don't want you to discount because it's a nonprofit that has nothing to do with your business. Trust me when I say she brings so much value to our program. And I want you to be able to hear just like some of the lessons learned as she has built such an incredible nonprofit in really such a short amount of time. You'll hear her say she just launched it in 2019. And when you hear what she's already has happened and what she's built, it's pretty incredible. So enjoy today's episode. Hi, Faith. Welcome to Well Oiled Operations.
Hi, Stacy. Thank you.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. So, Faith, can you tell everybody just a little bit about your nonprofit? Like, just explain what it is, and then I'll kind of go into like, how did you start it?
Our nonprofit gives basic brand new essentials to children and seniors in need. And when we say essentials, we give for the bed, bath, kitchen, closet, and pantry.
I love that. Now, what made you start it? And tell everybody what it's called too.
Beverly's Angels is a nonprofit. It was started, we received our official 501c3 status from the IRS on Christmas Eve, 2019.
Amazing.
Beverly was my mom. She became my angel. She had dementia the last few years of her life. She thought she would know people. She would not know their names, so she would call them Angel. So it just seemed appropriate to call it Beverly's Angels. People think I started it to honor her. That isn't the case. I started to heal myself. My mom was very challenging most of my life. And it wasn't until the very end of her life that I realized she did the best she could with the tools she had. And a very dear friend made me see her in a different light. And I had a conversation with her. I told her how appreciative I was of her and how much I loved her. I had my hand on her back and I could feel the weight of the world just lift. She hadn't spoken. She told me she loved me, and she went to sleep and never woke up, and she was gone 7 days later. So I started this. There was a part of her that was very giving and kind. I wanted to keep that alive, and I wanted to let the rest of that go. And that is what has happened. So I started to heal. I had no cause to champion. I just wanted people to be kind to one another and someone be kind to me. And in the end, I created a platform. Others had a very similar situation to me, and they can now heal through volunteering and having purpose, all while giving back to our community and doing good things for people.
I love that. Okay. A weird question, but I want to ask you, and I know you'll answer. Do you consider yourself an entrepreneur? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you identify as one?
That's an interesting question.
I know, like, I just thought of that because I'm like, it's not a business, like, right? It's not, you wouldn't call this a business. It is a nonprofit, but it's run very similar to a business. You're in the space with all the other business owners. You're doing what they're doing. You're doing the same stuff. So that's why I'm just like, would that be a word or a phrase you would ever use to describe yourself?
You know, I do things because of well-oiled operations. I do have systems. I do have things in place and platforms and technology. But I recently learned after talking with somebody that I'm creating a culture that I don't even realize that I'm doing. I am just following my heart, doing what I feel is best. And I have learned that people that have been hurt have the most compassion. And it has just led me to, one thing has led to another. You do something, you see a reaction, you give a brand new piece of clothing to a child that has never had something new. They go to tears and realize this is the first time it's theirs first.
Yeah.
It just leads to one thing after another. So I just wake up every day and something magical is going to happen. So I can't say I would consider myself that, but I consider myself someone that champions women empowering other women.
Yeah.
And I do things that promote us to be competitive, but in a way that elevates us to a different level.
I love that. Okay. And really, I think because you are a founder, right? And the women that you surround yourself with they founded other companies. You just have so much in common with them. I think we all want to make a good living, want to make an impact, but you have started this and lead through impact. Whereas sometimes they're leading with like revenue, profit, et cetera. But not that they don't want to make an impact. So I just thought that was interesting. And I don't know what you said that made me want to ask that question, but I just thought of that because you are as savvy as the other people inside of Powerhouse and you have that in you. Did you ever own a business or did you ever lead something before? Like
Yes.
who were you to all of a sudden decide, I'm going to start this thing?
I have done businesses before
Okay.
and I was successful, but I wasn't happy doing them.
Mm,
I
okay.
used to do wonderful things and help people in a different way, but I was always finding myself, when is the next vacation? When is the
Yeah.
next disconnect? Where this, I wake up every day like something really cool is going to happen. And it does. And it doesn't feel, it's not work. It's just a passion and time goes by and it's, whoa, it's the end of the day. So it's just different.
Yeah,
But I have a business sense and I
yeah,
apply that.
for
But
sure.
I don't want to be, when you have a business, you're controlled by your customers. People don't realize that. They think when you have your own business, you have this freedom, but you still are held to that. Where
Mhm.
I find I want to surround myself with people, as your favorite saying, that are drinking the Kool-Aid that I am pouring, and they're actually pouring it with me. I just had our open house. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony to open our boutique.
Yeah.
And I look around the room, it was packed. And as I'm speaking, people are welling up in tears. And
Mhm.
it's just a space to where, in this day and age where people climb all over one another, it's just a place to be safe and give and not be judged. So that's what lights me up. And I know
Yeah,
the money will follow.
for
The
sure.
in-kind donations follow, the money follows. So I am never trying to hit a monetary goal. I am not thinking I have to raise this much money to be a successful nonprofit. I already know in a very short time, I'm making an impact and leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
That's what matters to me.
Yeah. I love that. I want to ask you, because you're the only nonprofit I currently work with that I'm aware of. I want to ask you, what made you think, I mean, I don't know, like what convinced you of like, I need to learn like business strategy or I need to learn marketing strategy or like, was there anything out there for nonprofits? Like, where do nonprofits go when they start this? Like, how do they learn how to start a nonprofit?
There isn't much out there, actually. And I
Okay.
really didn't start it as to be a successful nonprofit.
Yeah.
I started it as like a side hobby of
Okay.
something to do to give back to. My dad was very philanthropic. He started the recreation department in our hometown, and he always felt that kids needed a place to go to stay out of trouble. And I just felt I was missing that.
Yeah.
So that's just how it started,
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
you know?
What have been some of your strengths that has really made this nonprofit do well?
I think the strength is I'm very authentic and real, and I speak from the heart. I didn't plan anything. I have no agenda or strategy like I should have on a call like with you today.
Yeah.
But I just, where it's like, I'm going to follow where the conversation goes and answer with how I feel and what is happening. And the magic will happen from that.
Mhm. Do you consider yourself a connector?
Most definitely.
Yeah. Like I agree with what you just said, but I see you as like a super connector. Can you like tell people like what we mean by that or just like how you are? Like there's like this friendliness about you, but I feel like you just like know everybody or like you could get me in at any place I want to go to. There's something about you where I'm like, I bet Faith could figure that out.
Well, I think my husband will tell you that I take no as a challenge. So he's very specific about
I
that.
love
That
that. I made that's the new subject or the podcast title. The
that
taking
is
note.
just it. Like,
I love
if
it.
you tell me I can't do it, or you tell me it can't be done, or, I live in a town that has more than 300 nonprofits.
Wow.
And, when I opened this, I did not think that there was a way to grow a really successful, one of the markers of the community nonprofit. And then I realized as I got into it that nobody was giving new, that they're happy to give
Right.
people's hand-me-downs and bring donations in and really burn volunteer hours. But there was this niche that wasn't happening in a town that is one of the most philanthropic. And I just thought I'd be just a little fishy, but I
Yeah.
have learned that I changed people's lives.
Mm.
We did a princess event at the Ritz-Carlton, and people were like, oh, the Ritz-Carlton. And I actually told them to tone it down, but they saw some things that we were doing on social, reached out and offered their ballroom to us. And
Which, hello, you're not, who's going to not take that? Right.
right? And
Come
they
on.
don't gift, they are a
Yes.
for-profit. And there were tears in the eyes from all of the workers, from maintenance to the chefs, to the organizers of the event, to the event planners, because it's children that we had in the room for back to school that never would have had the opportunity to have a full-on princess experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so, our people are so used to their kids that are so used to getting so much. This was like, oh, it's just another thing. What's happening now?
Yeah.
And these kids just don't have that. So to create something from nothing and to bring children to have an experience that hopefully changes their trajectory
Yeah.
or lets them believe that anything is possible is really what lights me up. We had this event in the 1st of August, a month ago. I just received an email 2 nights ago from a mom that she was nominated. Her daughter is 6 years old, on a feeding tube, has more surgeries than she can count. And she can't go to Disney. She can't be in with others. She is homeschooled. So this provided a small environment where she could have this experience. And we were just talking about this with some people
Oh,
at
wow.
the event, that her mom was very timid and she stayed really close to her daughter, that the event was actually just as much for her, for all of the traumatic
Yeah.
experience of all the surgeries and the worrying that a mom has, that it was for her daughter. So her daughter now is going to go in a couple of months in November for 6 weeks to a hospital in Philadelphia to learn how to eat. And
Wow.
she says her daughter gets her dress on almost every day. She tells her that she feels beautiful, which makes her mom very teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And she said now she knows that she is a true princess, and princesses can do anything. So she is going to carry this into learning how to eat instead of using her feeding tube, which she's never been able to conquer before.
Wow. That's
So,
incredible.
I mean, you do that.
Yeah.
I don't care how much money I raise. I don't care how much money's in the bank.
Right.
That
Like
it
you're
changes
leading with
somebody's life.
impact. Absolutely.
Yes.
For sure. Oh,
So
so
that's
good. But
but
I
what
also
I
think
love about
too, oh, sorry.
what I just want to say, what I love about Powerhouse is I'm with women that are go-getters and men in the group that
Yeah.
think differently outside of the box, and they help me elevate my game.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
show
'cause
me different possibilities. So
yeah.
that's what I love, that whole environment I really enjoy from
Right.
that. So
Well,
even though I'm a
and
nonprofit,
yeah.
I fit in
Oh,
because
absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I think too, you are leading with impact, but the strategies you're learning are going to help you make a bigger impact. So it's one of those things where if somebody's like, "Oh, I don't care about that. I don't want to do that." It would hurt or stunt the growth of what you could be doing. So I think you're smart and like getting those business principles in to help explode and make a bigger impact. Like that story is amazing to be able to do that for how many more people because you understand what it's going to take to run this.
correct. So
Yeah.
I think with Powerhouse, for me, it's the scaling of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be able to take what we're doing and scale it. So that's why the business strategies are so important to me.
Yeah. I love that. Um, what is the best advice, whether it's a previous business or this nonprofit, like maybe when you got it started, like what was the best advice somebody gave you that maybe gave you the confidence of like, I can do this? It could be a
That's,
friend, family member, anything.
I have, like I don't see myself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I don't see myself typically as a leader. I typically just jump in with
Mhm.
both feet and maybe sometimes think later. I just follow my heart. So I can't,
Did you get advice? Like, did you ask anybody or did you just like set this thing up?
no, I just was like, I want this. I'm going
Okay.
to do this. I went on LegalZoom. I talked to my
I
tax
love it.
accountant and she's like, go through LegalZoom. I went through LegalZoom and I started it. And I just did, I started out doing little acts of kindness, but
Mm.
so people could see what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And so community leaders started coming in, like an attorney came in that does stuff for us pro bono. And I would just start my own little masterminds, which I didn't realize what I was doing,
What you were
these
doing.
group
Yeah.
studies, and would just have brainstorming sessions. And then I
Mm.
would try something, and it just evolved that way. I
Yeah.
can't say there was one
That's okay.
moment. I just thought, I can do this.
Yeah. And that's amazing, because maybe somebody's looking for somebody to be supportive right now. And it's like, well, Faith didn't need it. She didn't look for it. Like, she just did it. And now maybe somebody else is going to do that because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just didn't. I just never thought that I couldn't,
Yeah. I love it. Oh,
you
so
know?
good.
And then if I get a roadblock, it's like, that's a challenge to me. Like the whole,
Mm.
like, you say no to me. It's just my personality. I'm sorry, I can't tell you like one person.
No, I know your answer is great. Okay. I want to know, what is something over since 2019 now, what is something that you maybe, I don't know, like some sort of learning lesson, something that you did, you discovered that you would say to somebody, let me save you some headache. Don't do this.
Well, I would say mindset first, because
Okay.
when COVID came, everybody thought everything was shutting down. And
Yeah.
for me, our nonprofit, we were completely we were not known by anybody at that
Yeah.
time. This was like March of 2020. We just had officially gotten it December of 19. But for us, COVID put us on the map, because I reached out to other
Mm,
nonprofits and said, hey, I know that you've had problems with families before that were struggling. Now there's really a struggle. So we just started doing things in kindness, like providing food, getting groceries,
yeah.
basic things where I partnered and communicate and connected, as you had said before, other organizations to maximize what was being done. So
Mm,
that's really how it all happened.
yeah. I love that. What is something that you would say to somebody, don't wait to do this? Like, now that you know what you've known over the past couple of years, what is something you would have done faster? You would have just like ripped the Band-Aid off. Anything come to mind?
Can I finish that last question before you
Oh,
ask me that
yeah.
again?
Yeah, go for it.
So I would say the one thing that I would say is try, do, just put it out there. Don't wait till everything is perfect.
Mm,
You don't have to go grandiose, but just put your feet in the water and try.
yeah.
If I would have done a little more things on grants in particular, when a large grant came along, I would have been better prepared. But I thought, I'm too little. I shouldn't do
Mm,
that. Always try. Just put yourself out there. What is
yeah.
going to be is what is going to be.
We always think we're smaller than we are, or that we are just like, oh, well, this is my situation, but nobody else is like this. It's like everybody's like this. We're all the
Right.
same. We're everybody's, I mean, it's very, very similar. So I love that. It's like, don't think you're small, because then you won't go for those things. And
Right.
who knows, you could get that.
And don't think I shouldn't do that. I'm not that. I'm not there yet. You're
Yeah.
not going to get there if you don't do those things. That is
Yes.
the one thing I wish I would have done sooner.
Okay.
So if that helped, I want to really dig into that first question, because I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
need to hear that.
Okay.
So ask me my other question again.
Okay. Well, this kind of, now you've kind of answered it though. I said, if you could tell somebody, don't wait to do this, what would it be?
Oh, it
Unless you
would
have something
definitely be,
different.
well, first I would say get yourself in with a business coach for sure. I think I am not the norm in a nonprofit,
Yeah.
but our mindset is everything.
Yeah.
And we did a gala this year. And if I wouldn't have been in your Powerhouse mastermind, I would have self-sabotaged it. I would have second guessed, and I would have pulled back, and it would have been kind of successful
Yeah.
instead of when I would have used excuses that would have been viable, but I would have known that I didn't push myself. And
Mm,
I would say to get into a mastermind, to do your research, to get in with other groups of like-minded people. The sooner you do that, the better, because the more that you do before you don't really know everything that you need to
mm,
know, you can make more mistakes, and then you're spending time undoing things. I
yes.
got into the mastermind, I think, just at the right time, because I was still creating things. So it was a little overwhelming at first, but, and I did have a meltdown. And then a short one. And I walked out of my office. I
Oh,
took a deep breath. I walked back in, and it has been the best thing I could have done.
yeah.
I would,
Like, of course it's overwhelming. It's, you don't know what you don't know. And then you're like, oh, by the way, here's everything you need to do. And you're like, ah, right. but it's one thing at a time. And I agree with what you're saying. It's like the longer you wait for implementing something and then you realize the right way to do it, you are like backtracking and fixing. So sometimes, yes, it can be overwhelming in the beginning, but it's like, it's also really nice that you just do everything, not the right way, but a way that you're going to feel proud of moving forward versus having to like go back and fix it.
Well, and you can't, you just have to get out there and do it. You can't second guess yourself. And the second thing is, the sooner I join the mastermind, you think you can't afford something or do something, you're paying a heavier price. It's costing you in other ways and you won't get there. So it's like, I'm not telling people to purchase or do something that they can't achieve, but you need to push yourself to get to the next level.
Yeah.
To not be afraid to be like, can I do this? Can I not? If you do everything safe, you'll never really see what you really can grow and do.
Yeah, I love that. Now, the pandemic obviously didn't stop you, like challenge accepted. You took that on. We're talking about a recession. So I'm assuming it's the same deal. Like you'll be fine. You're not thinking of it, but I do want to ask you, like, are you nervous? Are you cautious? Are you thinking something could happen? Or like, what are your thoughts with the recession coming or that we're in it?
I have learned personally and professionally that if you take up time worrying about what can happen, it's a waste of time and you don't move forward. I cannot control what happens in the economy. I can't control what happens in either political party. But what I can do every day is I can be on the front line and making a difference to someone that's struggling to put food on the table, to clothe their child. I can help somebody change their trajectory, one family at a time. And that's what I'm going to focus on. I believe there's a lot of nonprofits that are like, we can't raise money. Donors are going to pull back. What are we going to do? Okay, all that may be true, but if you focus on that, donors aren't going to give, volunteers aren't going to come, things aren't going to happen. If you stay out there and you're pushing and you're showing that you're doing things and you're showing you're making an impact, there are people that will follow, there are people that will help, and everything will be just fine.
Yeah, so good. Well, and you have to think like some people aren't affected in a recession. There are some people that will keep their job, they will keep their salary. And in fact, sometimes I've even witnessed where people are solid in their jobs and people start, discounting and sales. And it's like they actually are doing better in a recession because of the effects of it. So if you have the thought of like, no one's going to donate or no one's going to buy or whatever, right? You're going to guarantee that's going to happen because you're not going to try to make it. But if you're thinking somebody, like there are still people that are donating, there are still people that are buying, you will go out and search for them, which will show up in the results you create. So I think that's so powerful, such a good way for people to really just kind of calm themselves. Like the worst thing you can do is start to freak out because you will, like you said before, self-sabotage. Like you will inevitably create the result you are trying to avoid. So you just have to be really careful with that. So I just love hearing all of our Powerhouse's mindset around the recession and like where we're heading.
Well, I think the recession, it's like survival of the fittest. There are people that will use it as an excuse and not do well. And there'll be nonprofits that'll fall by the wayside and I will be filling that spot. Yeah. I look at it as a challenge, like, okay, this is going to be difficult times, then we're not going to do well. We are going to not survive. We're going to thrive through this. That is my mindset.
Yeah.
Just the way I look at it.
And that's the thing. It's like, as unfortunate as it is, and neither of us want any businesses or nonprofits to close, but it's just a fact. It will happen. And those customers will be looking for somebody new. And if you are still there and you are still focused on serving, you will reap those rewards. And that does happen.
Well, we just had our ribbon cutting today, and we are in off season. It is in the middle of the day and the place was packed, and the energy and the vibe and looking at the tears, people, especially now, want to have purpose.
Yeah.
They need kindness. They need to know that there is hope, that there is good things in the world. And that's really what I provide. So I think as long as I do that, we can be in a recession. We can be doing great. I think the recession actually is going to bring people even more so to us. From COVID, we had the whole hibernation of a lot of people that really suffered with the being confined, and we give a safe space. So people wouldn't have thought that from COVID. We didn't realize that our real estate market was going to go crazy and sustain from COVID. Everything was just and it didn't happen. So If
Yeah.
you spend time worrying about that, you're going to be out of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Faith, this has been so good. Is there anything you wanted to say that I missed that you share? Please do. And then also share, where can people find you online, on social, any place like that?
Um, Christmas is coming. And we always want to make sure that children get presents of their choice.
Mhm.
We give 2 presents of their choice with pajamas, wrapping paper for mom to wrap, because if Santa doesn't see you and the rest of the world, then it's actually a negative. So we want to make sure that we know, the kids know that Santa's coming. We are our kindness squad, which is 7 to 13-year-olds that mentor, has already been on NBC National News. They
Mhm.
have written a book. It is coming out November 1st. Each child is doing a part of the story, and it's about how I gave them a Benny Bear as a thank you to be on the squad. And they turned around, and one of the girls raised their hand and said, I'd like to give mine to a girl that needs sunshine in my class. So it's all about giving back, and you get a bear and you actually can teach your child how to give back and how to be kinder. So I think that's one thing that I'd like to share.
Yeah. And we have Benny the bear is floating around our house somewhere. They were playing with last night. Our kids love them. So
Yes.
fun.
So I think that's the biggest thing I'd like to shout out. They can
Yeah.
find us online on the web. They can find us on Instagram, is probably our biggest medium. We're on Pinterest. We're on Facebook.
All Beverly's Angels.
All Beverly's Angels.
Okay. Amazing.
We are a true 501c3. Any donation that you give monetary is 100% tax donated, and you will get a tax receipt automatically.
Amazing. Faith, what you are doing is incredible. What you have done since 2019, like that's just mind blowing. And it's, you can tell it's because of your commitment, your thoughts, your attitude of like, why not me? Why can't I do this? Right. So thank you for what you're doing. You are just an incredible person to be around. I am so grateful to have you in our inner circle. So definitely those listening, go check out Beverly's Angels. Faith is the real deal. And what she's doing is incredible. Her Instagram, your Instagram lately, I have been, I mean, it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. So I would check her out there to see all the fun stuff that they've got going on. Faith, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Stacy.